The movie Chaos Walking came out a few days ago, and ever since the release of the trailer, we've really liked that energy effect that you see here. They're essentially visual representations of the character's thoughts and change in style and color, and it can also be a really quick look to achieve. Some of you might already own it, but we're going to be using assets from our energy pack, which has over 150 assets, and if you're interested, you can get it in the link below in the notes. We also have H.264 versions available now too. These can be used for a variety of effects and have become our go-to things for stuff like magic, sci-fi, and superpower projects. To start, we're going to have our footage in After Effects and we're going to drop it into a new comp. We need to track Josh's head first, so we're going to right-click and create a new null, which we'll call track. Then right-click your footage, track and stabilize, track motion. Scale up and move the tracker to an area of your actor's head, then play through until the clip is fully tracked. Now click Edit Target and make sure the null track layer is selected. Then apply and OK. Now it's time for the energy. As you can see, this effect can vary from shot to shot in terms of energy, motion, color, and style. We tried a few different assets, and the one we liked best for this particular shot was the asset called Orbit 1. So we'll drop that into the comp and set the blending mode to screen to key out the black. Then scale and move position to place it over your actor's head. Now click and drag the pick whip and link it to the tracked null so that the energy moves with your actor's head. In Chaos Walking, the energy looks like it flickers or pulses in visibility. A quick way to do this in After Effects is pressing the T key to show your layer's opacity and then Alt-click on the stopwatch. You can type in a wiggle expression to have the opacity randomly flicker. We decided to go with wiggle, open bracket, 3,98, close bracket. This means the opacity strength will vary between 0 and 98 3 times per second, which gives us this. Next, we're going to select both the energy and track layer, right-click and pre-compose, then set the blending mode to screen. This is so we will be able to use it to drive a displacement effect later. Now for the overall look, we want to go a lot more subtle, so we are using a few curves effect to lower the brightness and add some contrast. For the color, we're going to use Color Vibrance by Video Copilot, but if you are using different software, you could use a curves, a tint, a hue, or so on. A reoccurring color that we liked is a mix of pinky purples and blues, so that's what we are going to be going with, but obviously you can use any color of your choice. We are lowering the vibrance, brightness, and gamma, but this is shot and style specific. If you had a brighter background, for instance, you might want to boost the brightness and make it more visible. Next, it's time to add a few instances of glow. So first apply the glow effect, and you can try our settings here or just go by eye with your own. We want to have the first glow with a low radius, then duplicate the effect, lower the threshold, and boost the radius. Then duplicate one last time and lower the intensity. You could also change the glow colors on these to get a different look, but we are keeping ours as the original color. Now, when it comes to energy effects, something which can help tie it into a shot more is to have the energy affect the air around it by adding a blur or distortion. Right-click and create a new adjustment layer to add these blur effects and place it below the energy layer. First, we're going to use a compound blur and change the blur layer to the energy layer, which means it will only blur within that area. The next effect that we're going to be using is a vector blur to add some distortion. When we boost the amount, you can see it creates these weird distortions. If you choose the energy layer as the vector map, it will again only apply it to the area within that energy region. If your effects are close to an edge like you see here, you might get something like this. To fix this, just use a motion tile effect and move it above the blur effect, check mirror edges, and increase the output height. When we quickly hide the energy layer, you can see exactly what these blur effects are doing, and if you want to see your actor's face without distortion, you can use a simple mask set to subtract and feather it. To finalize the look, we're going to lower the opacity of the energy layer, then duplicate it and slide it over in the timeline a bit to show a different frame. Now, this works fine in our instance since Josh isn't moving much, but if you had a motion track that was moving quite a lot, then sliding this layer in the timeline would also affect that movement. What you would need to do in that instance is make a duplicate of the energy pre-comp and slide the asset inside that timeline instead. Now we will change the color to give that multiple color look from the movie. And lastly, we added a color grade, and now we're done. Like I mentioned earlier, we tried a few different assets which gave us various looks. To do this quickly, you can click on your asset layer, then click and drag another imported asset and hold the Alt key at the same time. Once you bring it over the layer in your timeline, let go and this will swap it out for a new file and keep any effects or keyframes you may have already put on the previous asset. And obviously, these techniques can be used and altered to fit the designs of your choice. We did a similar thing here with the Scarlet Witch effect. With this one, we used a fan for some hair movement as well as practical red lights illuminating the actor, then changed our energy effects to red to match. We also altered the eyes, which we have a bunch of tutorials about, so you could just go on our YouTube channel and search eyes and you can find a ton on that. But essentially, the process is the same. We choose the energy asset we felt best worked for this shot, pre-comp to use for displacement effects, and finally added color and glows. And while the main process is basically the same, it can be used to create a variety of different styles, like you can see here in our Infinity Pack promo. So just alter the settings to fit the style that you feel best suits your project. And if you do use our packs, tag us on Instagram, our Triune Digital Instagram. You can find a link for that in the notes below. We really love seeing the stuff that you guys come up with. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.